No doubt when you take a flight for a trip, the noise cancellation from the AirPods Pro is a necessity. But how do these compare to the AirPods Max? That's what we're going to find out today. So recently I took a trip and I was using my AirPods Pros. They were super awesome when I was waiting around the airport, just waiting for my flight, just trying to be in my own zone. Clearly useful whenever you go on a trip and you just want to be able to tune everything out. Definitely makes it a lot easier. The issue I was running into was wearing these for long periods of time. Part of my trip was waiting for an airplane for about 5 hours. During those 5 hours, I'd see others walking around wearing these. And I was kind of wondering which one's better for when you're taking a flight. So this video is going to go over the convenience of both of these, the comfort long-term for longer trips, and overall what I'd recommend if your trip involves going through the airport. So to start, we're going to open up these brand new AirPods Max, see what comes in the box. I'm sure most people would be able to guess what comes in this box. But either way, we're going to see what's inside. So one thing I'm already thinking about is how I wear glasses, as I know many people do. And I'm curious if that's going to become an issue with the fact that these type of headphones obviously put pressure right here on the sides. So I'm curious if these are actually going to be comfortable for longer trips. Got that nice suction on there. Alright, so these come with the smart case, I believe is what it said. It says it somewhere on this box. There it is. Right there. AirPods Max with smart case. So here we go, the normal design by Apple in California. Obviously AirPods in their smart case. I got the space gray here. Let's just show this. Obviously, you know how Apple makes everything feels nice and premium. So what I've heard about this smart case is that it's the only way that these headphones actually fully go to sleep and power down, is that they can tell when they're in this case. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then lastly comes charging cable. USB Type-C in this case to the lightning port. So I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'm gonna have to see and hopefully put it in the bottom of the video here how long these take to charge, because that would be good to know, especially that this has the USB Type-C as the charging cable. The next issue, or not necessarily issue, but the next thing that I'm gonna keep in mind when I'm going to the airport is I'm curious on how it's going to be trying to go around having these either around my neck or just keeping them on using the transparency mode so I can hear everything when I need to, and how that's going to compare to just keeping these in your ears, but then also taking these out, pulling the case out of your pocket, and dealing with that whole thing. Let's go ahead and put these on. The only experience I actually have with these is using them in an Apple store very briefly. I just noticed that they do actually say left and right in here. Kind of probably hard for this camera to see, but kind of embroidered into the cushion there. That one's right, that one's left. So adjust these in my head size. I can already see, yeah, if I have to adjust my glasses, it's a little bit more difficult than I'd like, but that's probably just the nature of headphones like this. Let's go ahead and pair it to the phone. Just kidding, we're not going to pair it to the phone because it's right here filming our close-ups, and the R5 is filming the main stuff. So a bit of an idea of what we're going to be doing in this video. My wife and I are going to be going on a trip here soon in a couple days. We'll be taking these and obviously also the AirPods Pros. I'll be using the AirPods Max, and then she'll be using the AirPods Pro on the way to our destination. So we'll be going through the airport with these. It's about a 2-hour flight each way, and on our way back we'll be switching. So she'll be using, or I'll be using the AirPods Pro, and then she'll be using the AirPods Max. Then at the end she'll kind of let me know her thoughts of how each one performed in her opinion, and I'll also give obviously my opinion. And it'll be interesting because she doesn't wear glasses and I do, so I kind of have a feeling that that's gonna play a part in this, but I guess we'll see. I'm excited because both of these have noise cancellation. I've heard a couple things about this one's noise cancellation not being as good as it once was, but that also might not be true. So I definitely want to see that part of this comparison. Like I said, again, we'll be talking about comfort, wearing these each for long periods of time, both on the flight and also in the waiting areas or lounges or restaurants. So we'll see how that goes as well. The other thing, trying to get through security and stuff like that, we'll see if this is more of a headache than these or vice versa. So we'll see how all that goes. So we're back from our trip where we were comparing the AirPods Max and the AirPods Pro. AirPods Max being these ones on top of the banana holder, and then the Pros being down here on the bottom, if that wasn't obvious by this point. Overall, during our trip, I was actually surprised by how much I noticed as far as a difference between the two, especially the types of things that I noticed as a difference. So we'll just start going into those. First, we'll start with the things that I didn't notice any difference in between the two. The first thing was noise canceling at a gate without any music on. So there, with all the people around and everything, all the talking and such, without any music, they both struggled with trying to separate you from your environment. Basically, both just sounded like you were covering your ears like this, and you could still hear the gist of what people were saying, and it just was not the same, obviously, as if you were to have music on. That being said, with music on, they both performed about the same for the most part. But that's kind of something you'd expect from any noise canceling headset right now. With music, it's kind of just a given that you'll be pretty separated from what's going on around you. Now, as far as what went different, we'll start with the pros of what I noticed with the AirPods Pro. One of the pros with these was the fact that me being someone who wears glasses, I didn't have to worry about these affecting in any way the quality of noise cancellation that these give. I also didn't have to worry about these squeezing the sides of my glasses and causing any discomfort around this area, which that, as we'll get in later, played a small part with the AirPods Max, but I thought it would have been a lot more, but we'll get to that. Another thing about the noise canceling with this is that turning your head in 90 degrees in either direction, this did very well. As opposed to, again, what we'll get to with the AirPods Max, we kind of ran into a little bit of a weird thing going on with that. Any pictures in the background are going to be pictures I've taken in the past, but I'll try to minimize that. So again, the noise cancellation quality with these is about average when you have music on. However, on the flight, using just noise cancellation without any music and just trying to tune out mainly the engine noise of the plane, these actually were noticeably better with that specific scenario. So if that's your biggest pet peeve about the engine noise when you're on the flight, it's worth to know that these did do a little bit better than the AirPods Max. If you're finding this video helpful, just a reminder to hit the like button, subscribe if you're interested. It's very appreciated. Now, as for the cons for the Pro, there's a little bit of a list, but I've got a little bit of a list for both. One thing that I did want to point out was that these do have obviously different commands you can do essentially by different types of button presses, as opposed to the AirPods Max that have a dial on the side. You can adjust your volume. They also have a button that is purely for switching between the transparency mode and also noise canceling. Makes it very easy. The AirPods Pro can do most of the same, if not all the same commands, is what I would call it. However, it's not very intuitive, I feel like. I feel like for me, once you get used to it, I'm sure that it would just come naturally. But at least starting out with either between the two of these, I feel like I'd need a cheat sheet to remember, okay, hold it for this amount of time to switch between transparency and and noise canceling, and also to pause. Skip is, I believe, a double tap on it, and so on. I had to actually look up how you do all the different commands with this, as opposed to everything I felt like I needed to know how to do with the AirPods Max was pretty intuitive with the few controls that you have there. Another one of the downfalls that we found for the AirPods Pro was sudden noises. For example, in an airport lounge, for example, it's not as much people talking as there is at a gate. But there is a lot of like dish clattering noises, like people with spoons setting them down and picking them up, and sometimes you feel like someone's just got a cup right there and they're just going at it with their spoon on the inside of that. The AirPods Pro don't handle those noises as well using the noise cancellation as the Max do. As far as walking around the airport and leaving these in transparency mode, in a comparison, I would say that for people, especially with a deeper voice, the AirPods Max would probably be more natural sounding. I noticed that using transparency mode on the Pros, the deeper parts of my voice were kind of muffled when I would hear them back. Now, I don't really have that deep of a voice, so I would imagine that for someone who actually does have a deep voice, that might be a little bit annoying, especially compared to how clear the deeper sounds of my own voice, at least, sounded clearer in the AirPods Max. Another thing that I've noticed in a previous trip, not necessarily on this trip, actually I didn't notice it at all on this trip, but in the past I have noticed that after wearing the Pros for a long time, I'll occasionally feel little tickles in my ear. I don't know if it's them moving or what, but it does get a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know if it's my ears getting irritated with them or something, but that was probably after a few hours of use, let's say maybe like 3 hours. Again, on this trip, I didn't notice it at all. Now, a weird issue I've had with the Pros, and it happened on this trip and I've had it happen in the past, is a connectivity issue where it just quits trying to connect to anything. As you probably know, Apple products, Apple AirPods, AirPods Pro, AirPods Max, they do a pretty good job that once you pair them to one of your Apple devices, they can transfer over from your phone to your iPad to your Mac. But the issue we ran into was that my wife and I were trying to share audio from my iPad. We were watching a movie. I was wearing the AirPods Max and she was going to be wearing the AirPods Pro. They started off working fine, but midway through we were having weird issues trying to get her noise cancellation turned back on. And it led to me trying to pair these to her phone, and then that led into the issue of now the AirPods Pro didn't want to connect to any of my devices or her device. They were just not happy. I tried to connect to Bluetooth and it just wouldn't connect, kept failing, tried to reset them. It was a whole ordeal. Now, if you look up this issue, there is a help page, I believe, on Apple. I'll probably pop it up real quick on how to actually reset these, and then it starts working again fine. Like I said, I've ran into this before, I've had to go through it, but it is kind of an unfortunate quirk that happens every so often. I don't know if it happens on the AirPods Max, but I wouldn't say that it doesn't do it just because I don't know. But on this trip, I did not experience that with the AirPods Max. Now, this next con for the Pros is something for those clumsier of people. When we were on the flight and my wife was trying to put in the AirPods Pro, we were already going up in the air. Plane's a little bit shaky. She's a little bit clumsy at times. And if you give someone something small who's a little bit clumsy, they're kind of going to be prone to probably dropping this. So my wife was trying to put these in and started fumbling all over the place and almost dropped it on the plane. And you can imagine how that could have ended up not ideal when you got the rest of your flight to go and now one of your AirPods is who knows where, rolling around on the floor amongst who knows what else, and if you'll ever see it again. Now moving on to the Max. As I said before, the controls on the Max were really intuitive. Try to show it right here. If you can see, there's a dial right here. Move that forward and back for volume up and down. Click the dial down for pausing. Double click for skipping to the next song. This button here, clicking this will switch you between noise cancellation and transparency. So straight out of the box, I didn't have to look up commands and stuff just to do the essentials of what I needed these AirPods for. So I would say that that is a big plus if you don't want to have to go through a learning curve for knowing how to use your product. Like I said, if you just wanted to use just the noise canceling, just to be in a quiet room essentially, these ones did do a lot better if you're planning on spending a good amount of time in an airport lounge where there's a lot less of people talking and stuff and announcements going off from their PA systems at the airport. Like I said before too, I do believe that the transparency mode on the AirPods Max was a lot clearer as far as especially low tones in your own voice. As far as other people's voices, I do feel that they were both pretty equal as far as clarity. I did wear these leaving our flight, going through the airport and down to the pickup area so that I could hear my wife behind me, what was going on around me, and it was very clear. I was not disappointed at all with the clarity. But that being said, the AirPods Pro were also very clear walking through the airport. I did give them both a fair shot going through. As for taking phone calls and such like that, I do feel that both of these are awesome. The Hey Siri option is super useful when you're already walking through. Maybe you're walking to the pickup area and you're trying to call whoever you have picking you up. You don't have to touch your phone or anything. You just say, Hey Siri, call whoever, and then you're on a phone call.
To who?
Never mind, Siri.
Okay, I won't.
And in both cases, the microphones do a very good job at picking up your voice, and the other person on the other side hears you loud and clear. I haven't had an issue with either of these when on a phone call hearing from the other person that they can't hear me. Now, as far as wearing these as a person with glasses, One thing that I did really notice from the get-go was that it does feel that there's a small opening that stays open. The foam of the pads doesn't quite contour all the way around the glasses. It's kind of to be expected, and it's kind of a downside of wearing glasses, but it is a reality of having to wear glasses. That being said, at the beginning, I did feel a little bit of discomfort wearing these for a long period of time. Towards the end though, I feel that after some break-in in these areas, it was a lot more comfortable, and I didn't really notice that any issue wearing my glasses as far as comfort. As far as noise canceling, there is a small difference that you could hear if you're really paying attention. Again, after a little bit of a break-in time, I did notice that it's not as big of a difference as I thought it would be. Wearing these with glasses or not having glasses essentially was the same after wearing it for a little while. In quieter environments, you can notice a little bit of the noise leakage from the glasses. But again, once you have any music or anything like that, it's not very noticeable. And if it's not already a quiet environment that you're in, you probably won't notice the difference. So another pro of the AirPods Max is it's easy to let someone borrow these if there's someone traveling with you, because of how they just adjust. You can make each side longer or shorter, as opposed to the AirPods Pro, where you would need to also bring a different size tips with you so that it can fit in their ear. Plus, someone might be a little less likely to want to borrow your AirPods Pro, and that might be a plus for you. As for the cons with the AirPods Max, probably half of them just have to do with the noise cancellation being a little bit finicky, or at least it's just small things that I noticed. One thing that I had noticed was that if you kind of move your jaw, maybe if you're chewing or something, you do kind of lose some of the noise cancellation when your jaw kind of moves down here. Also, turning your head 90 degrees in either direction, we also did notice, both me and my wife noticed, that you do lose some of the noise cancellation. I don't know if it's the muscles or skin here flexing, causing some leakage. But that, in comparison to the pros obviously wouldn't have that issue because they are not trying to make a seal in a full circle around your ear. So another con with these is that you're kind of stuck either having them on your head or around your neck. And both of those in their own amount of time can become uncomfortable. I've seen some people online complaining about the amount of pressure that the AirPods Max put on their head. I personally didn't have any issue with this, but maybe someone with a bigger head might have an issue. For me, it was the more uncomfortable of the two was having to have these around your neck, and then anytime you try to look down, you have something fighting you. So that actually would be a pro for the AirPods Pro, being a lot easier to just take out of your ears, put them away in the case, slip that back in your pocket. A lot easier to stow these away as opposed to the AirPods Max, where if you actually want to put them away, you got to go in your luggage, grab out this case, unless for some reason you're holding onto this case the whole time you're walking around everywhere. Then you got to put these in and, I don't know, either clip these around the top of your case, your carry-on maybe, or I guess if you have a backpack it'd be a little different. But if you're not traveling with a backpack, these would be a little more cumbersome to deal with. So like going through security, of course, I said I also had these out. For me, I'm a person who likes to take care of things, so I wouldn't want something like this to get scratched. So it's harder for me to be okay with just taking these off of my neck and sitting them with a bunch of other stuff that might scratch up such a nice surface. So the last part on my con list for the AirPods Max is actually kind of a weird one that I only noticed on the way back, and it happened when we were landing. When we were landing, I don't know what it was in that small moment, but these just started popping, making a bunch of popping noises I'm assuming that it was the noise cancellation freaking out for some reason, but it was just a lot of pop, pop, pop. Like I said, only notice it for that very specific part of the trip, but it was something that I thought I'd bring up. So thank you if you've made it this far in the video. Let me know in the comments which one you think you'd prefer to travel with. Are you the type of person who you want to use your noise canceling headphones when you want, and then when you're done you just want to quickly be able to put them away, put them in your pockets? Or you're looking for the better all-around noise cancellation? Maybe the over-ear headphones are kind of more comfortable for you. For me, in my overall opinion, if I had to choose between the AirPods Pro and the AirPods Max, I think I personally would be leaning towards the AirPods Max. For me, the intuitive controls, the better noise cancellation in a lounge, and overall me being able to wear these longer than I think I'd be okay wearing these. That's a confusing sentence. Basically, I think I'd be able to wear these longer than I would these. That coupled with the other things I said, for me the AirPods Max would be the way to go as my choice for noise cancelling headphones. So again, leave a comment. Do you think AirPods Pro are better for travel or the AirPods Max? Leave a like, subscribe if you're interested, and I'll see you in the next video.